Joining us now, our Canucks reporter, one half of the rink-wide duo with Andrew Wadden. It's Mr. Jeff Paterson. How you doing?
Doing well. Quite enjoyed watching and covering the Canucks victory in Colorado. I think, it's a short list, obviously, but easily one of their best victories and best performances of the season.
Yeah, we were wondering, maybe the best.
Yeah.
What else is on the short list, Jeff? Remind them. The Pittsburgh game. Is it the Kings game? We're going to put the Kings game?
Full stop. Pittsburgh.
Demko, when you give up 4 or 5 goals, I don't think it can be on the list, right?
No, Demko was good in the Los Angeles game. Unfortunately, like the team, it hasn't happened enough. But, it is a short list. So what I liked about this was, Colorado's got the best power play in the NHL. Everybody knows that. They scored twice, including the 5-on-3 was ridiculous. Like, talk about inevitable. Just put a goal on the board at that point. But what people may not know about the Stanley Cup champs is they're really not that good 5-on-5. They're 29th in the NHL in 5-on-5 offense. And so you go into a game with Colorado, you almost think, okay, they're going to get something on the power play. If you can limit them at even strength or outscore them, that's the path to victory here. And so the Canucks outscored Colorado 4-1 at even strength, including the 4-on-4 goal that they got. And then, so obviously McKinnon and Makar and Rantanen was going last night. They're just extremely talented players, and you try to keep them in check, but you're never going to hold them down entirely. And then you look at what the Canucks did. 21 seconds in, it's the Paterson line. Horvat's line got a goal. You get contributions from defensemen. Garland had a goal there that was disallowed, but they spread their offense around, and they kind of outbalanced the Colorado Avalanche, if you will. And all things considered, they got some saves. I don't think Spencer Martin was heads and shoulders better than the guy at the other end of the ice, but he was good enough, certainly, to get the job done. And again, an incredible story now with 5 of the 7 wins that the Vancouver Canucks have belong to the former Avalanche netminder.
Well, it brings us to our Bodog poll question, Jeff. Do the Vancouver Canucks have a goaltender controversy?
In the short term, I'm not ready. I don't want to stir the hornet's nest with the word controversy, but they certainly have decisions to make on a nightly basis. They've got a job share at the very least. And look, if I'm making the call, it's Spencer Martin on Saturday in Vegas. Thatcher Demko didn't fare very well against Vegas on Monday night. Like, why wouldn't you take the opportunity to go with a guy that continues to deliver when he gets the call, give Vegas a different look, a guy that they're not familiar with? You're going to split the back-to-backs because it's a quick turnaround into San Jose on Sunday night. So it's not a question of saving Spencer Martin for the Sharks on Sunday. You're going to go with the 2 goaltenders. I just think right here, right now, so maybe small C controversy, if I could go that far, I suppose. In the long run, though, for the good of this organization, Thatcher Demko, he has to be their guy. But if they think that they're going to claw their way back into, some sort of playoff contention, they're going to need Demko. But in the short term, Spencer Martin's been a great story. At the 20-game mark, he is right up there at the top of the list of good news stories for this Vancouver Canucks hockey club.
The circumstances also guide things here, right? This is a coach coaching for his life. Despite the fact most people think that has been decided upon already. But in his own mind, he's going to try to win every single game. If Spencer Martin is not starting, it really challenges the narrative that we hear all the time from coaches that, guys, you don't think I'm trying to dress the best possible lineup to win a hockey game? That right now, the best possible lineup to win a hockey game includes Spencer Martin if you're Bruce Boudreau.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And again, there's just he looks like an NHL goaltender now. He did last year in his brief appearances, but you just wondered, was that lightning in a bottle? Was that a guy that wasn't feeling the pressures necessarily, was just taking advantage of the opportunity to say, hey, remember me? There might be something here. He was rewarded with his contract. He looks like an NHL goaltender. Call him a late bloomer, whatever the case. Everybody arrives at their own time and, on a different schedule. But he's here now, and he looks the part of an NHL goaltender. And that had to feel pretty good for him to go back into Denver and shove it to the Avs. Not that they cast him aside. Early in his career, he didn't have that same look and feel that he does now. But he's found a home in the Canucks organization, and you had to feel good for him and for Sheldon Dries. 2 guys that, kind of cut their teeth in that Colorado organization to go back into Denver and play prominent roles in a Canuck victory.
Let's talk for a moment about Elias Pettersson, because he's talked about wanting and relishing playing against the best players, whether that's Nathan McKinnon or whether that's going to be, I suppose, Jack Eichel on the weekend. against the Vegas Golden Knights. What do you think of power on power, the Paterson line versus other top lines?
I like it. It's not working with Bo Horvat and JT Miller. They may be among the Canucks' best players and certainly among their best scorers, but defensively, there are warts, probably too many to count, quite frankly, and yet Bruce Boudreau continued to lean on them, and I thought it was really interesting before they flew off to Denver the other day after the Tuesday practice, and he was asked about using Pettersson in a matchup role, and he said, I'm not there yet. Bo wins so many faceoffs, and that seemed to be the thinking, that it wasn't, in the run of play, it was about trying to start with possession of the puck, but you know what Elias Pettersson does better than anybody on this team? He goes and gets the puck if he doesn't have it, and so I'd almost be willing to take my chances on faceoffs, and he doesn't win as many as he would like or the team would like, but he hounds the puck. He's relentless. His perception and his ability to anticipate and all those types of things allows him to go and get the puck when he doesn't have it. If Horvat wins the faceoff, there's no guarantee that the Canucks are turning it over and they're not getting out of their own zone. And so I just think the trade-off of a lot of people have talked about sort of the overinflation of the value of faceoffs. There are times in games, certainly, where faceoffs matter individually. But overall, you'd like to win more than you lose. But again, so many faceoffs, the puck turns over possession, in a couple of seconds. And really the value of the faceoff win is negated in that regard. So I love the fact that, Pettersson's got that confidence and swagger. Yeah, he wants to take on this role. He wants to match up. And he held his own. Like Nathan MacKinnon at even strength. It's Nathan MacKinnon. He's going to generate chances. I think he had 8 shots and 10 attempts. And, he's one of the most dynamic forces in the league. But if you look at the score sheet, he had 1 point last night. And so the Canucks did a relatively good job of keeping him quiet and in check. And ultimately, they come out on top. And even the little things that we always talk about, like the play that Pettersson made on the Mikheyev goal, it wasn't highlight reel stuff, but he's able to get his stick and just kind of tap the puck out in front to put it in a position for Mikheyev to score. And Mikheyev did the rest from there. But then moments later, shorthanded, Elias Pettersson with a breakaway. And we see that. The more penalty killing he takes on, the more scoring chances he generates. And, again, I thought it was low-key another really good night in what has been a season full of them, for the most part, for Elias Pettersson.
Further down the lineup in the center ice position, don't tell anybody, but is Sheldon Dries the third-line center?
Yeah. I mean, I think he's certainly not coming out of the lineup after last night's performance. And if they want to keep JT Miller on the wing, then organizationally, the center ice position is a weakness for this group. And so good on Sheldon Dries. He's taking advantage of an opportunity. He plays a position. I know people are freaking out about why Paterson comes out of the lineup or why Höglander. They're wingers. That's, if Paterson could be a center, maybe that would be a better path for him, but he's not right now. And so he sat and watched last night while Sheldon Dries with 2 points in the third period when they're trailing. And what amazed me, and it, again, you're left to read between the lines a little bit here, but for a coach that's coaching for his life right now, Sheldon Dries getting a shift in a 3-all tie in a 4-on-4 situation with 8 minutes to go. And he ends up making a play to get the puck back to the point, no EL over to Bear. Incredible that Mikheyev was the catalyst on that entire sequence. And sometimes life's unfair. He doesn't get a point, but he's the guy that outraces the Avs, gets to the puck, forces the turnover. But he would get a nice third assist on that goal. But yeah, I mean, I think Bruce, I do wonder if he sees a little bit of himself in Sheldon Dries, a guy that's been a tweener for a lot of his career, has toiled in the minors, has paid his dues, but a guy that has the offensive chops. And certainly the way this Canucks team is constructed, if Brock Besser is going to be on your third line, if Connor Garland is going to be on your third line, you want to believe that you can play them with somebody that can bring out some of the offense that they're supposed to provide.
That's right.
And the Garland goal that got overturned, and that was just a brutal call, I thought. But it kind of goes by the wayside. But, Dries was involved in that play as well. He was out there and part of that line that did put a puck in the net, even though it was overturned by the War Room.
Yeah, I mean, if people don't like the sample size of 9 games, the 5 points in 9 games, then sure, grab the 11 from last year as well. He's played 20 games. He's got 8 points, 4 goals. That sounds like a third-line center.
I was just going to say that too, Blake, and of course another former Colorado Avalanche. And no, he's been very good. You have to give him credit. You mentioned the goaltending interference, Jeff.
Yep.
So this has been an ongoing saga now in the NHL this season in particular. And I do wonder whether that was an even up for the missed icing call that preceded it. The explanation from the Situation Room, Vancouver's Connor Garland had a significant presence in the crease and made contact with goaltender Pavel Francouz, which impaired his ability to play his position prior to the Garland goal. So I guess even if you reestablish outside the crease, if you have done enough previously to impair the goaltender, that's what they're judging. You tell me, because, boy, is this a gray area rule that's causing some trouble this year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the answers. I'm in the dark like everybody else. I did not think that was goaltender interference. I did think it was icing. I think that they missed the part of the play that preceded the goal. But, man, I hope that the league isn't getting into makeups in the war room on that. Like, that feels like two totally separate discussions. But, the Canucks did well there. Brock Besser, who, people wonder about his foot speed, actually got in and pressured the puck. I thought it was going to be icing, but he didn't quit on the play. Canucks were able to get it back to the point. Of course, Luke Schenn is he's the offense maker. He's the key in all of this. They got it back, and they robbed him of an assist. Come on. But yeah, there was some contact. But again, I thought Francouz had time to reestablish his position, and Connor Garland, not the biggest guy in the world. Like, there's going to be some incidental contact along the way. So it just feels like a coin flip. Like, I don't think that the league really fully grasps what is and what isn't. Every case is different, and trying to predict it is a fool's game because, again, I thought there was the one in the New Jersey-Toronto game where, there was skate-on-skate sort of contact that prevented Matt Murray from sliding to his left. That one I was okay with, but this one last night, it just felt like a bump in the night, and it's contact sport. Again, I don't think it was so bang that it impacted Francouz and his ability to make the stop. I just think that, they challenged, they went back and they looked at it, and I guess they saw something that warranted overruling it. But I didn't like it. I think the league got that one wrong last night.
Let's ask you this question. Can the Canucks win Bruce Boudreau off of the hot seat? They're 7-10-3 right now. What if they win 4 in a row? They get to 10-10-3. They are officially NHL 500. I mean, he's on the cutting room floor for a lot of people right now. But what if they keep winning? Is there a chance to get him off of that?
Well, the idea of a 4-game win streak, it feels preposterous right now. Yeah. And look, they got to go into Vegas, and we know what Vegas did to them the other night. So it's not easy, and really there's no let up. I mean, they go after San Jose, they come home, they've got Washington, they've got Florida. So, there are challenges every night, especially when you are where you are with the Canucks in the standings. That said, we talked about this a little bit on the show yesterday, in as much as trying to get inside the mind of management. And when do you play the card of firing the coach? And if you don't believe that, if you're just firing the coach because you don't like what you see, but you don't really have a full-time replacement, you don't have a master plan, it can blow up in the face of management, because if they do get rid of Bruce, who's a popular guy and he's got some cachet with the fan base, if nothing changes, then the spotlight and the heat just gets turned up considerably on management, right? Like, a third coach comes in with this group and it's essentially the same results. Well, maybe it's not the coach at that point. So you do wonder if that's going to buy Bruce a little bit more time in that regard. They had a couple of breaks in the schedule here over the last week where it felt like if it was going to happen when the temperature was really, really hot, I kind of thought it might happen then, and it didn't. And now he gets a win last night and a good win. It's team day off in Vegas. They'll practice. I assume Bruce will be the head coach on Saturday in Vegas, and probably on Sunday in San Jose as well. But I still think he's almost on a game-by-game basis. But for him, there were some positives last night, certainly some things to build on. The fact that they were the team that came back in the third period, that Colorado mounted a push and they didn't wilt in the late stages of the hockey game, and that Horvat scores again, Paterson's involved in the offense. There was enough good news in that hockey game. And dare I actually say they had a little structure in the third period, too, to mount the comeback. So I think Bruce lives for the weekend at the very least, but not out of the woods. As far as getting off the hot seat, though, boy, I think it would take something pretty special from this group, and they just haven't shown me that they are capable of that over the first 20 games.
The one thing I wonder, guys, and we talked about this from the get-go, and for the most part it has been true this year, all the goals they're scoring, you wonder if there's just an offensive explosion for this club that floats a mini winning streak, because I think we're starting to see some signs here, particularly from their top players, that they're going to score a lot night in, night out. And so if you get a modicum of goaltending and defense, maybe that's your recipe. It's probably not a Stanley Cup playoff winning recipe, but it could very well be a regular season recipe.
Well, the danger there is just how many goals you surrender, right? Because I don't disagree. I think they are amongst the league leaders in offense in the last few weeks. I think that can continue for a few more. Mm-hmm. But, like, are they able to string together wins, Jeff, where they allow 2 or fewer goals? Like, I want to see that on back-to-back games where they only surrender 2 or less. And that's not a crazy ask.
And that's, 20 games into the season, guys, and they don't have that on their resume. They don't have a 3-2 victory.
No.
Their wins have all been with 4 and 5 and 6 and 8 goals. It's funny, just looking at it this morning, 20 games in year over year. They're only 3 points better than they were last year, so they're really no further ahead. But they have scored 24 more goals in 20 games this year compared to a year ago. Unfortunately, they've given up 13 more as well, and last year's team didn't squander leads because it didn't have leads because it didn't score many goals, and we know that that's been a huge part of the storyline here in the first 20. But 24 additional goals, more than 1 per game, and all that has yielded them is 3 additional points in the standings. It is pretty incredible. But, with this group, we've seen it in 20 games in. I kind of feel you are what you are unless you really change the roster. There are still issues, massive issues defensively, and that's going to continue to rear its ugly head just with the personnel that they've got. Like, they got through it last night. OEL, it's been a tough go for him, but I actually thought he had a nice third period. He had a couple of assists, but, he and Ethan Bear formed a pretty formidable tandem. As the Canucks went down to 4 defensemen, interesting that Tyler Myers had 1 shift in the final 6 minutes as they were protecting a lead, but he and Kyle Burrows were basically the guys that, as they shortened the bench there. So, a $6 million man that can't play in the final 6 minutes when you're clinging to a lead. And so that's my concern, is that, again, they're so frail defensively. There's a lot of good teams in the league that are going to score some goals. And so, yes, they'll get theirs, but I fear that they'll continue to give up too many goals as well.
Well, they're sitting him, lest there be a trade, of course. Right? Any day now for Tyler Myers. Jeff Marvelous.
That's why he didn't play in the final 6 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. There was a trade nibble in the second intermission. Rutherford went, I don't know. Let's shut him down.
Those are the dangerous moments too, right?
Yeah,
late in the third period.
Let's work with that theory, sure.
Yeah, exactly. Marvelous, Jeff. Thank you for this. We'll catch up Monday.
All right. Have a great weekend, guys.
Mm-hmm.